The Lone Defender. The Earth Corvette Perseverance drifted silently through the debris field near the outer reaches of the Ta City system. Its hull, a patchwork of iridescent carbon alloy plates and emergency repairs, told the story of a ship that had seen more than its fair share of battles. Captain Maya Voss stood on the bridge, her tall frame silhouetted against the backdrop of stars visible through the main view screen. Her left eye, a cybernetic replacement from an earlier engagement, glowed with a soft blue light as it processed tactical information in real time. "Status report," she commanded, her voice cutting through the ambient hum of ship systems. Lieutenant Commander Reza Khalid looked up from his station, his dark eyes reflecting the holographic displays floating above his console. "All systems nominal, Captain. The quantum resonator is operating at 97% efficiency, better than expected after the last skirmish." Maya nodded. The quantum resonator was the reason the Perseverance was out here alone, away from the rest of the Earth defense fleet. It was experimental technology, barely understood even by its designers. But it was humanity's best hope against what was coming. "Dr. Chen, what's the latest on the auxiliary fleet?" Maya asked, turning to the science station where Dr. Lydia Chen was hunched over her displays, her fingers dancing across holographic interfaces with practiced precision. "Long-range sensors confirm what the colony's warning transmission told us," Lydia responded, her voice tense. 327 vessels, including what appears to be their flagship. They're moving in standard conquest formation. Based on their current trajectory, they'll reach Ta City Prime in approximately 18 hours. The bridge fell silent. Everyone knew what that meant. The Exilari weren't known for their mercy. In the 8 years since first contact, they had systematically conquered or destroyed every human outpost they encountered. Their technology was decades, perhaps centuries, ahead of Earth's. Their biology made them resistant to conventional weapons. Their hive mind neural network made them tactically superior in almost every engagement. Almost every engagement. "They don't know we're here," Maya observed, her cybernetic eye narrowing slightly as she processed the tactical possibilities. "And they don't know what we can do." "Captain," Reza interjected, his voice hesitant, "even with the quantum resonator, we're still just one ship against over 300. The math doesn't." "The math changes when you rewrite the equation, Commander," Maya interrupted, a slight smile playing at the corner of her mouth. "Nikolai, bring up the simulation we ran yesterday." Lieutenant Nikolai Petrov, the ship's tactical officer, tapped several commands into his console. A holographic display materialized in the center of the bridge, showing a complex network of interconnected nodes pulsing with energy. "This is our best approximation of the auxiliary neural network," Nikolai explained, his Russian accent thickening with excitement. "Each node represents an individual auxiliary, and each connection represents the psychic link that binds them together. It's their greatest strength," Maya continued, circling the hologram slowly. "It allows them perfect coordination, instant communication, shared tactical awareness. It makes them appear invincible." She stopped, her cybernetic eye glowing more intensely. "But it's also their greatest weakness." "The quantum resonator was designed to disrupt this network," Dr. Chen added, joining the discussion. "In theory, it could create a cascading neural feedback loop that would temporarily, or perhaps permanently, sever their connections." "In theory," Reza emphasized, his skepticism evident. "We've never tested it against more than a dozen auxiliary at once, and that was in a controlled environment." Maya nodded, acknowledging his concern. "True, but the principles should scale, and we're out of options, and out of time. The nearest Earth fleet is 3 days away. If we don't stop the auxiliary here, Ta City Prime and its 4 million colonists are as good as dead." The bridge fell silent again as the weight of their responsibility settled over the crew. They were the only hope for millions of lives. One ship against an Armada. "Set an intercept course," Maya ordered, her voice firm with resolve. "We'll position ourselves between their fleet and Ta City Prime. Nikolai, prepare the quantum resonator for maximum dispersal. As the Perseverance began its approach, Maya retreated to her ready room. The small chamber was sparsely decorated, save for a few mementos from Earth: a photograph of the Rocky Mountains where she had grown up, a small stone from the shores of Lake Superior, and a worn copy of The Art of War by Sun Tzu. She picked up the book, running her fingers over its cracked leather binding. "All warfare is based on deception," she whispered, quoting from memory. "When capable, feign incapacity. When active, inactivity." The Perseverance had one advantage that Xilari couldn't anticipate. They didn't know what it was capable of. The quantum resonator technology had been developed in secret, tested in the most remote regions of space. As far as the Xilari knew, they were facing just another outmatched Earth vessel. The ship's AI, Advanced Responsive Intelligence Algorithm, manifested as a translucent blue hologram in the center of the room. "Captain, we've computed the optimal intercept point. We'll reach the Xilari Vanguard in approximately 2 hours." Maya set the book down. "Thank you, Arria. What's your assessment of our chances?" The AI's form flickered slightly as it processed the question. "Conventional tactical analysis gives us a 0.73% chance of survival and mission success. However, when factoring in the theoretical capabilities of the quantum resonator and the element of surprise, the probability increases to approximately 12.8%. Maya smiled grimly. "I've succeeded with worse odds." "Indeed, Captain. I've observed that you frequently defy statistical probability." When Maya returned to the bridge, her crew was already preparing for battle. Shield harmonics were being calibrated, weapon systems charged, and emergency protocols established. But the focus of their preparations was the quantum resonator, an array of specialized equipment installed throughout the ship that, when activated, would generate a field of quantum particles specifically tuned to disrupt the Xilari neural network. "Dr. Chen, give me a status update on the resonator," Maya requested, settling into her command chair. Lydia looked up from her station, her expression a mixture of excitement and apprehension. "The resonator is at full capacity, Captain. We've refined the targeting algorithms based on our previous encounters with the Xilari. In theory, we should be able to create a disruption field large enough to affect their entire fleet." "In theory," Riza muttered again, but there was less skepticism in his voice now. The closer they got to the Xilari fleet, the more everyone understood that theory was all they had. "We've reached the intercept point, Captain," Nikolai announced. "The Xilari Vanguard will be in visual range in 3 minutes." Maya straightened in her chair. "All hands to battle stations. Shields at maximum. Weapons hot but hold fire until my command." She paused, then added, "And activate the quantum resonator's passive scanning mode. Let's start gathering data on their neural network." The next few minutes passed in tense silence as the Perseverance positioned itself directly in the path of the oncoming Xilari fleet. Then, suddenly, they were there, dozens of massive insectoid vessels, their hulls gleaming with an otherworldly iridescence under the light of Taw City. The Vanguard alone outnumbered the Perseverance 30-1. "We're being scanned," Reza reported. "They've detected us." "Hold position," Maya ordered. "Let them make the first move." They didn't have to wait long. A transmission came through on all frequencies, the translation software converting the clicking, chittering language of the Xilari into English. "Attention Earth vessel." The alien voice resonated throughout the bridge, its tone somewhere between curious and contemptuous. "You are outmatched and outnumbered. Your presence here is futile. Withdraw immediately or be destroyed." Maya exchanged glances with her crew before responding. "This is Captain Maya Voss of the Earth Defense Corps vessel Perseverance. We are here to protect the Taw City colony. It is you who should withdraw." There was a pause, then the Xilari voice returned, now tinged with what might have been amusement. "Your courage is noted, Earth Captain. But courage without power is merely Inconvenient. We will demonstrate. Without further warning, 3 of the vanguard vessels broke formation and accelerated toward the Perseverance, their weapon systems visibly charging. Evasive maneuvers. Maya commanded. Nikolai, activate the quantum resonator's first phase. Let's see if we can give them a headache. As the Perseverance banked sharply to avoid the incoming attack, Nikolai initialized the quantum resonator. A barely perceptible wave of energy emanated from the ship, invisible to the naked eye, but detectable on their sensors as it washed over the approaching auxiliary vessels. The effect was immediate and dramatic. The 3 ships, which had been moving with perfect coordination, suddenly seemed to lose their synchronization. One veered sharply to port, nearly colliding with another, while the third fired its weapons but missed the Perseverance by a wide margin. "It's working," Lydia exclaimed, her eyes wide with disbelief, as she analyzed the incoming data. "The resonator is disrupting their neural network. They can't coordinate properly." "Extend the resonator field," Maya ordered, a surge of hope rising in her chest. "Target the next wave of ships." As the quantum field expanded, the disruption spread to more of the auxiliary fleet. Ships that had been moving in perfect formation began to drift apart. Weapon fire became erratic. Communication signals between vessels grew chaotic and fragmented. But the auxiliary were adapting. The flagship, a massive vessel at the center of the fleet, began emitting a counter-signal that partially neutralized the effects of the quantum resonator. "They're trying to re-establish their network," Lydia warned. "The flagship is acting as a central node, a fallback point for their collective consciousness." Maya's cybernetic eye gleamed as she processed this new information. "Then that's our target. Nikolai, recalibrate the resonator to focus specifically on the flagship's frequency. Riza, bring us about and prepare to engage the main auxiliary force." The Perseverance surged forward, diving into the heart of the now disorganized alien fleet. Without their perfect coordination, the auxiliary vessels couldn't bring their full firepower to bear. Some shots went wide, others were delayed, and a few ships even hit their own allies in the confusion. But the Perseverance didn't emerge unscathed. A glancing blow from a particle beam tore through part of the hull, and a direct hit from a plasma torpedo overwhelmed the shields on the port side. Damage reports coming in from all decks, Riza called out over the sound of emergency alarms. "Hull breach on Deck 4, contained by emergency force fields. Shield generators 3 and 5 are offline. Engineering reports the quantum resonator is still operational, but power fluctuations are affecting its efficiency." Maya gripped the arms of her command chair as the ship shuddered under another impact. "Maintain course. All power to the resonator and forward shields. We need to get closer to that flagship." As they pressed on, the disruption to the auxiliary neural network became more pronounced. Ships that had been recovering their coordination began to falter again. The flagship itself, massive and imposing at the center of the fleet, seemed to be struggling to maintain its counter-signal. "Captain," Araya's voice came through the bridge speakers, "I've analyzed the auxiliary communication patterns. There appears to be a vulnerability in their network architecture. The flagship is acting as a central processing hub, but it's becoming overloaded trying to compensate for the disruption we're causing." Maya leaned forward, her eyes fixed on the tactical display. "Can we exploit that?" "Affirmative. If we can increase the resonator's output by another 20% and specifically target the flagship's main communication array, we could potentially create a cascading neural feedback loop that would spread throughout their entire fleet." It was a risky plan. Increasing the resonator's output would strain the already damaged power systems of the Perseverance, but the alternative was certain defeat. "Do it," Maya ordered. "Divert power from life support if necessary. We only need it to work for a few minutes." As the Perseverance closed the distance to the auxiliary flagship, the quantum resonator's output increased dramatically. The energy wave that emanated from the ship was now powerful enough to be visible as a rippling distortion in space, washing over the alien vessels like an invisible tide. The effect on the flagship was immediate and catastrophic. Its counter-signal faltered, then collapsed entirely. Without that central coordinating force, the neural network that bound the auxiliary fleet together began to unravel at an accelerating rate. Ships that had been moving with at least some coordination now drifted aimlessly or spun in place. Weapon fire ceased entirely as the aliens struggled to maintain even basic functions. Some vessels simply went dark, their power systems overloaded by the neural feedback. "It's working," Nikolai shouted, his voice hoarse with excitement. "Their entire command structure is collapsing." Maya watched in astonishment as the once mighty Armada dissolved into chaos before their eyes. But she knew they weren't safe yet. Maintain the resonator field. Let's make sure they can't recover. As the minutes ticked by, it became clear that the auxiliary fleet was completely incapacitated. Ships that could still maneuver were beginning to retreat, abandoning their conquest formation and their fallen comrades. "Captain," Araya announced, "I'm detecting a massive energy surge from the auxiliary flagship. Analysis suggests they're attempting to self-destruct rather than risk capture or further neural degradation." Maya's expression hardened. "How long do we have?" "Approximately 2 minutes before detonation. The resulting explosion will be equivalent to a small supernova. We need to clear the area immediately." "You heard Araya," Maya called out to her crew. "Get us out of here. Maximum speed." As the Perseverance raced away from the disintegrating auxiliary fleet, Maya allowed herself a moment of reflection. They had accomplished what should have been impossible. One ship against hundreds. But it wasn't just their technology that had made the difference. It was their creativity, their ability to identify and exploit a weakness that the auxiliary, for all their collective intelligence, had never anticipated. The quantum resonator had proven far more effective than anyone had dared hope. And now, humanity had a weapon that could change the course of the war. Behind them, the auxiliary flagship exploded in a blinding flash of light, the shockwave catching the edges of the Perseverance and sending it tumbling through space. But the ship's structural integrity held, and within moments, they had regained control. "Damage report," Maya called out, brushing debris from her console. "Multiple systems offline," Reza reported, his voice steady despite the chaos. "The quantum resonator is completely burned out, but the primary hull is intact and life support is stable. We're still in one piece, Captain." Maya nodded, relief washing over her. "And the auxiliary?" Lydia checked her sensors, then looked up with a smile of disbelief. "Retreating, Captain. Every ship that's still capable of movement is in full retreat. They're actually running away." Cheer went up from the bridge crew, the tension of the past hours finally breaking. Maya allowed herself a small smile, but her mind was already racing ahead. The auxiliary would be back, perhaps with new defenses against the quantum resonator. But humanity now had time. Time to improve the technology, to build more ships equipped with it, to prepare for the next encounter. For now, though, they had won. One ship had stood against an Armada and forced it to flee. "Set course for Ta City Prime," Maya ordered, settling back in her command chair. "Let's tell them they're safe." As the Perseverance limped toward the colony world, leaving behind the scattered remnants of the auxiliary fleet, a new chapter in humanity's struggle for survival had begun. For the first time since the war started, they had hope. The impossible victory. The Perseverance emerged from its emergency repairs a week after the battle, its hull still bearing the scars of the confrontation, but its systems once again operational. Captain Maya Voss stood in the ship's observation lounge, watching as technicians from the Ta City shipyards swarmed around the vessel, examining the quantum resonator arrays with a mixture of awe and scientific curiosity. "They're calling it the miracle at Ta City," Reza said, stepping into the lounge with a datapad in hand. "News has reached Earth. The Defense Council is already ordering the resonator technology to be installed on every ship in the fleet." Maya nodded, her cybernetic eye tracking the movement of a particular group of technicians who were removing core components from the resonator for detailed analysis. It wasn't a miracle, Riza. It was science, strategy, and a hell of a lot of luck. The Xilari don't believe in luck, Riza replied, a hint of dark humor in his voice. Their entire culture is built around the idea of perfect prediction and control through their neural network. What we did to them wasn't just a military defeat, it was an existential crisis. Maya turned from the window, focusing her full attention on her first officer. Have we learned anything more about how they're responding? Riza activated his datapad, bringing up a series of intelligence reports. Long-range recon drones have been tracking the remnants of their fleet. They've retreated to the Rigel system and appear to be consolidating their forces. But there's something strange happening. Strange how? They're not behaving like a collective anymore. Different factions of their fleet seem to be operating independently, sometimes even at cross purposes. It's as if the neural disruption we caused has had lasting effects on their organizational structure. Maya's interest was piqued. This was an unexpected development, and potentially a significant advantage for humanity. Are they fighting among themselves? Not exactly fighting, but definitely not cooperating as efficiently as before. And there's more. Riza scrolled to another report. We've intercepted communications between their vessels. They're discussing something they call the Great Severance. Our xenolinguists are still working on the exact translation, but the implication seems to be that some portion of their collective consciousness has become permanently disconnected. This news sent a chill down Maya's spine. The quantum resonator had been designed to temporarily disrupt the Xilari neural network, not cause permanent damage. The ethical implications were troubling, to say the least. Have Dr. Chen review all the data from the resonator during the battle, she ordered. I want to know exactly what happened and whether this effect was something we could have anticipated. Riza nodded, making a note on his datapad. There's one more thing, Captain. The Defense Council isn't just impressed with our victory. They're planning to use it as the centerpiece of a major counteroffensive. Operation Sundering, they're calling it. Maya frowned. They're getting ahead of themselves. We succeeded in one engagement under very specific circumstances. We don't know if the resonator will be as effective next time, especially if the Xilari have adapted their neural network. That's exactly why they want you and the Perseverance to lead the operation, Riza replied. You're the only ones with practical experience using this technology in combat. Before Maya could respond, the ship's communication system chimed. Captain Voss to the bridge, Aria's voice announced. We're receiving a transmission from the Xilari. They're requesting direct communication with you specifically. Maya and Riza exchanged surprised glances. The Xilari had never sought diplomatic contact before. Their entire approach to other species had been conquest or annihilation, not negotiation. Acknowledged, Maya responded. I'm on my way. When they reached the bridge, the rest of the senior officers were already gathered around the main view screen, their expressions a mixture of curiosity and apprehension. Dr. Chen was at the science station, running continuous scans of the incoming transmission to ensure it contained no hidden cyber attacks or neural manipulation attempts. The signal is coming from just outside the Ta-City system, Nikolai reported. A single Xilari vessel, Scout class. They've maintained their distance and power signatures indicate their weapon systems are offline. Maya nodded, taking her place in the command chair. Put them through, but maintain all security protocols. The view screen flickered, then resolved into the image of a Xilari. The alien's insectoid features were partially obscured by a translucent helmet filled with a greenish fluid, their version of a life support system for operating in environments not saturated with their native atmospheric compounds. Multiple compound eyes reflected the light of their ship's bridge, and mandibles clicked rhythmically as they prepared to speak. Captain Maya Voss, the alien began, the translation software converting their clicks and chirps into smooth, synthesized English. I am Nexus Commander Stivlek of the Xilari Ascendancy. Maya maintained a neutral expression, though her heart was racing. This was unprecedented. A direct, one-on-one communication with a high-ranking Xilari officer. Nexus Commander. I must admit, I'm surprised by your contact. Our nations are at war. The auxiliary's mandibles clicked more rapidly, a sign of agitation or perhaps emphasis. What you have done cannot be undone, Captain. The great severance has changed everything. For the first time in 10,000 cycles, there is discord in the collective. Maya glanced briefly at Riza, who gave a subtle nod. This confirmed their intelligence about the fragmentation of the auxiliary neural network. I regret any permanent harm caused to your people, Maya said carefully. Our intention was to defend our colony, not to cause lasting damage to your neural collective. Stivlek's compound eyes seemed to focus more intensely on Maya. You do not understand the magnitude of what has occurred. The collective has existed in perfect harmony since before your species discovered fire. Now, there are voices, discordant thoughts, individuals questioning the consensus. Maya began to grasp the implications. For a species that had evolved as a neural collective, individuality would be as alien and potentially terrifying as complete neural integration would be to humans. Some see this as catastrophe, Stivlek continued. Others see opportunity, a chance for evolution. And which group do you represent, Nexus Commander? Maya asked. The auxiliary was silent for a moment, mandibles working thoughtfully. I represent those who recognize that the path of conquest is no longer viable. Your quantum technology has revealed a vulnerability we cannot overcome through conventional means. If we continue this war, you will use it again, and the collective may shatter completely. You're proposing peace, Maya stated, hardly believing the words as she spoke them. Not peace, not yet, but cessation of hostilities, a truce. Time for both our species to reassess, to understand what has happened and what it means for our future interactions. The bridge was silent as everyone processed this extraordinary development. After years of relentless aggression, the auxiliary were offering a truce, all because of what one ship had accomplished. I don't have the authority to negotiate on behalf of Earth, Maya finally said, but I can relay your proposal to the Defense Council. We understand your command structure, Stivlek replied. But you, Maya Voss, have earned a unique position in auxiliary consciousness. You are the first individual of any species to fundamentally change the collective since its formation. Your name is now part of our shared neural record. Maya wasn't sure if that was an honor or a threat. What exactly are you proposing as terms for this truce? Withdrawal of all auxiliary forces from the sectors you claim as Earth territory. Establishment of a neutral zone between our spheres of influence. Exchange of observers to ensure compliance. And the auxiliary paused, mandibles clicking in what might have been hesitation. Access to data regarding the effects of your quantum technology on our neural biology. That last request raised immediate red flags. You want us to help you counter the only effective weapon we have against you. Not to counter, Stivlek clarified. To understand. The severance has created possibilities that have never existed for my species. Some among us wish to explore them, rather than merely repair what was broken. Maya's cybernetic eye whirred softly as she processed this information. The implications were staggering. They had not merely won a battle or forced a strategic retreat. They had potentially catalyzed an evolutionary turning point for an entire species. I will convey your proposal exactly as stated, Maya promised. But I must warn you that trust will be difficult to establish after years of war. The collective understands trust differently than individuals, Stivlek responded. But we are learning. We will await your response. With that, the transmission ended, leaving the bridge in contemplative silence. Did that really just happen? Nikolai finally asked, breaking the tension. It did, Maya confirmed, rising from her chair. And it changes everything. Riza, prepare a secure channel to the Defense Council. Dr. Chen, I want a comprehensive analysis of everything we know about auxiliary neural biology and the effects our resonator might have had on it. Araya, compile all sensor data from the battle, and cross-reference it with our communications with Stivlek. I want to verify that what they're claiming about this great severance is consistent with the effects we observed. As her crew sprang into action, Maya returned to the observation lounge, needing a moment of solitude to process what had just occurred. The stars beyond the viewport seemed especially bright tonight, as if illuminating a new path forward. Aria's holographic form materialized beside her. "Captain, I've completed my preliminary analysis. All available data supports that Exilari claims regarding neural fragmentation following exposure to the quantum resonator. The effect appears to be most pronounced in ships that were closest to our position when the resonator was at maximum output." Maya nodded, still gazing at the stars. "We didn't just beat them, ARIA. We changed them." "Indeed," the AI agreed. "And they have likely changed us as well." The Defense Council's initial response to my report on the truce proposal indicates a significant shift in strategic thinking. Operation Sundering has been put on hold pending diplomatic evaluation. This surprised Maya. The military leadership of Earth had been singularly focused on finding a way to defeat the Exilari since the war began. For them to even consider a diplomatic approach was unprecedented. The universe is rarely so elegant as to provide clean victories or defeats, Maya mused. Instead, we get these messy, transformative moments that no one could have predicted. "An astute observation, Captain," Araya replied. "Human history suggests that such moments often lead to the most significant advancements in civilization. Perhaps the same will be true for both humanity and the Exilari." 2 days later, Maya stood in the Perseverance's main conference room, facing a holographic projection of the Earth Defense Council. She had just finished delivering her detailed report on both the battle and the subsequent Exilari communication. "Your actions have given us options we never thought possible," Captain Voss, Admiral Harrington, the head of the council, acknowledged. "But they've also placed us in uncharted territory. We have no precedent for negotiating with the Exilari. They've never shown interest in diplomacy before." "With respect, Admiral," Maya responded, "I believe that's precisely why we should pursue this opportunity. The quantum resonator didn't just give us a tactical advantage. It revealed a fundamental aspect of Exilari psychology that we've never understood before. Their neural network isn't just a communication system. It's the foundation of their entire civilization. And now that foundation has cracks in it. Cracks that could lead to collapse," noted Dr. Elisa Santos, the Council's xenobiology expert, "or to something new and potentially more dangerous. Either way," Maya argued, "a truce gives us time. Time to better understand what happened, time to improve our defenses, time to potentially find a path to coexistence rather than extermination, theirs or ours." The council members exchanged glances, their holographic forms flickering slightly with the movement. Finally, Admiral Harrington spoke again. "We are authorizing you to open preliminary discussions with Nexus Commander Stivlek, Captain. Not formal negotiations. Those will come later with properly appointed diplomatic staff, but a framework conversation. Establish their sincerity, clarify their proposals, and assess whether this great severance is indeed as significant as they claim." Maya nodded, feeling the weight of this responsibility settling on her shoulders. "Understood, Admiral. I'll proceed with caution." After the council members had signed off, Maya turned to find Riza and Dr. Chen waiting for her. "Well, it looks like we're making history again," she said with a small smile. "From warriors to diplomats," Riza observed. "It's quite the career shift." Dr. Chen looked troubled. "I've completed my analysis of the resonator's effects on Exilari neural patterns. If what Stivlek said is accurate, we may have inadvertently created a civil conflict within their society. Some will embrace individual thought. Others will see it as contamination to be purged." Maya frowned. "You think we've made things worse?" "I think we've made things different," Chen clarified. "Better or worse remains to be seen. But the Exilari who emerge from this crisis won't be the same ones we've been fighting." The next day, Maya sat alone in the conference room, waiting for the scheduled communication with Stivlek. She had decided that this initial conversation should be one-on-one, to establish a more personal connection with the auxiliary commander. When the view screen activated, the insectoid alien appeared much as before, but Maya noticed subtle differences. The fluid in Stivlek's helmet seemed clearer, and there were new markings on their exoskeleton, perhaps indicators of status or recent experiences. Captain Voss, the auxiliary, greeted her. Your neural patterns indicate increased serotonin and decreased cortisol compared to our last interaction. You are pleased. Maya was startled by this observation. She knew the auxiliary had enhanced sensory capabilities, but this level of perception was unexpected. I'm cautiously optimistic, Nexus Commander. My government has authorized me to continue our discussion. Stivlek's mandibles clicked in what Maya was beginning to recognize as their version of thoughtful consideration. Then we have both taken the first step toward a new understanding. The severance continues to spread through our collective. Every cycle brings new individuation. Is that causing conflict among your people? Maya asked directly. Yes, Stivlek admitted. The imperative consensus that has guided our species for millennia is fracturing. Some embrace the change, others resist it, but resistance itself is a form of individuation. To oppose the emerging new consensus requires independent thought. A paradox, Maya observed. Indeed, one that is transforming our civilization in ways we could not have imagined. But enough of our internal matters. I wish to discuss the practical aspects of our proposed truce. As they delved into the details, boundary definitions, communication protocols, verification methods, Maya was struck by how quickly Stivlek adapted to the concept of negotiation. It was as if the auxiliary was discovering a new tool, testing its capabilities with increasing confidence. There is one more matter, Stivlek said as their discussion neared its conclusion. The quantum technology you deployed against us. We do not ask for its secrets, but we request information about its effects. Our scientists believe it may be possible to stabilize the neural fragmentations in ways that preserve both our collective awareness and our emerging individuality. Maya considered this carefully. Sharing any information about the quantum resonator was a risk, but completely refusing might jeopardize the fragile trust they were building. I can provide medical data on the observed effects, but not technical specifications of the device itself. Would that be acceptable? It would be a meaningful gesture, Stivlek agreed, and perhaps the beginning of scientific exchange rather than merely military avoidance. When the communication ended, Maya remained in the conference room, contemplating the extraordinary turn of events. What had begun as a desperate last stand against overwhelming odds had transformed into an unexpected opportunity for peace, or at least a cessation of hostilities. The ship's AI materialized beside her. The probability of successful diplomatic relations with the auxiliary has increased from 0.73% to 38.7% based on this conversation, Araya informed.